Welcome to Business Miles, the podcast where we explore the intersection of corporate growth and the metrics that power it. I'm your host, Anish Khadiya, co founder and chief business officer of Itilite. In the professional services world, we talk a lot about velocity, the speed at which a team can innovate and deliver. But as a company scales, business travel shifts from a simple task to a strategic lever that directly impacts the company's delivery engine and the bottom line. Nick has steered conversion through an incredible period of growth, and he's been the architect behind their shift from manual hustle to a streamlined, data-driven travel process. Nick, it's great to have you on Business Miles. We've got a lot to unpack from your leadership journey to how you've defined or how you've redefined what sustainable travel looks like for a scaling agency. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Anish. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Nick, can tell our listeners, about conversion. What business conversions in.
Absolutely. So, Conversion is a marketing services provider. Our core services is around A/B testing, web experimentation, digital user research, mainly for enterprise organizations across B2B and B2C verticals. And so essentially what we do is we take our clients' businesses, get their goals, get their metrics, and work with them to strategize and design ideal web experiences for their customers to make it perform better through A/B testing, data-driven measurement, and making sure that our proposals and changes are providing a return on investment. We use statistical significance and other measures to make sure that what their clients are investing in us, we are providing for them. And we use that along with qualitative measures through user research in order to kind of validate the insights. So we have the ability to kind of see from the digital of what people are doing on the websites, but then also through research, understanding the why behind it. So in terms of that, we help clients really, to your point of accelerating their velocity, we accelerate their velocity through growth, through data and evidence-based decisions.
Well, that's great. I for one can vouch for the power of such a solution. Understanding what goes on in your users' minds and then being able to or being able to triangulate that with data that you can see on your website or on your software.
Absolutely.
That definitely is very useful. Nick, now you've had a very interesting professional journey, both before conversion and then at conversion. Would be great if you could tell our listeners about your journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born in Hong Kong, but I kind of grew up in Canada. So I moved to Canada when I was about 4.5. In Canada, I studied marketing and business administration in university. So throughout my time, it was all about marketing and digital. Early in my career, I did, I had a stint in real estate marketing. From there, digital and web marketing for tourism. So for cruise travel agency, I spent about 5 or 6 years there. I did a short stint in print marketing at an agency. And then I joined Conversion about 11 years ago. We were just a small team then, about 15 people or so. I joined as a project coordinator. And that's when I really learned about what experimentation A/B testing really was. Before Conversion, I didn't really understand. I didn't know that this was a thing or that there was something, within locally that did this. But it was a really interesting area in field of marketing. I pretty much early on, within the first 6 months, I moved from project coordinating to strategy consulting. One of the first big clients was HP, where I kind of led the strategy consulting of how they scaled their new instant ink funnels, essentially a subscription service for printers. And then from there, the company grew and I grew along with it. So there was, we went from 15 people. And then as the team grew, I kind of led the strategy team, then the delivery team, then the production, client services, and everything. So I ended up at the maximum leading a team of overall 35 to 40, client services, production team members at the organization. And then we went into COVID. There was a huge impact there. More so post-COVID. So during COVID, a lot of people were staying stable within the organizations. We were fortunate enough that, we were not negatively impacted by that, but also there was not a whole ton of growth. But from there, once things opened up, there was what's called the Great Resignation, where everybody's kind of switched roles and changed and everything. And so, with that was a very challenging time to lead such a large team, but then also to ensure that our clients were still being getting the service that they're accustomed to and the results that they were used to. So that was a huge challenge. And from there, after I got the team through that storm, I took a bit of time off. Honestly, took a sabbatical for about 3 months. I traveled to Asia, went to my brother's wedding, and yeah, when I came back, honestly, wasn't sure what was in store for me, but there was a role as a team change that I could go into operations side of things within conversion. So kind of overseeing finance, legal, HR, travel, and so yeah, I pretty much have a lot of seen almost every single role within the organization except for face-to-face sales or even ironically marketing for the company. So yeah, it's been a big journey. And then at some point, actually, there's been updates since we last spoke where our organization we got acquired back a couple years back by a company called Gain, and so we are Gain Conversion. And actually, I'm kind of stepping into a role of operations on the software side of things, where we're developing software services based off of our technologies and all that. So yeah, it's been a wild and exciting ride, but yeah, still technically with Gain Conversion and lots to do.
While in exciting, it sure, sounds, and, I'm sure it is that. And credit to you. Very few individuals within companies get the opportunity to touch such a wide portfolio.
Absolutely.
And, it's a measure of how well you've done this. That the company that is acquired conversion now decides to put you into a role, which is again, a different role, very important role at that, at the group itself.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really grateful and honored.
Absolutely, and I think you've earned that. So, Nick, I know this is a new role that you've stepped into, but since the COVID period, you've overall been responsible to control costs at conversion.
Mhm.
Within conversion's delivery cost base, how important is the travel cost? And how has this changed as the company scaled up post-COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pre-COVID, travel was quite significant in terms of visiting our clients. Really, because we're based in Canada, pretty much all of our clients are in the US. Most of our work is done virtually, but then there's always such a huge benefit in visiting our clients on a regular basis, face to face, to build that client relationship. And
Yeah.
so travel was a big part of that. And you really get to know a lot more about the clients and what their goals are within their organization, over dinner, over face-to-face coffees and meetings. So yeah, it's huge in terms of that. And then especially post-COVID, and as we've gotten bigger and as we've kind of gotten additional support within a larger organization such as Gain, we've been able to do a lot more kind of sales and marketing more within conferences and seminars and workshops and everything. So there's been a lot of push towards growth from that side with travel. We recently hosted last year our first joint conference in Vegas. We did one in Vancouver this year. We're going back to Vegas. And so, yeah, there's been a lot more, not just client meeting travel, but then also kind of travel for growth purposes and really investing in travel for future growth opportunities with prospects and clients.
Very interesting. Travel to power growth. That's a theme I definitely love. And I have heard that from, the previous speakers that I've had on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Um, Now, let's dig a little bit deeper into the travel journey and conversion.
Mhm.
Back in 23 and 24, how did conversions employees book travel? And then, since you made a shift, was there a specific moment when you thought the process in 2023 and 2024 was not sustainable and you needed a change?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we were a small organization and our CEO and founder did most of the travel, they basically had an executive assistant do all the bookings or kind of in conjunction with the travel agent. And with that, the idea was the CEO was able to not touch it at all and have this person manage everything and just deliver them their itinerary and so on. And so there was a lot of back with that. There was a lot of, it worked for one person travel. However, as a team grew and more people traveled, the process did not work as well. There was a lot of back and forth for itinerary changes, timing and dates. People were working around their own personal schedules. And when you have, a small team doing travel and all the different back and forths, every single change has to go through this operations coordinator and then this travel agent and the back and forth. was not sustainable. Yeah, I think with that, because ultimately kind of people have different travel preferences and everything. And so we found that going towards a more self-service approach, people were able to take more control over their own kind of travel plans, their own travel preferences, and it resulted in faster turnaround. Even though it takes more of the individual's time, I think the ability of controlling their travel decisions and their experience was more valuable to the traveling team rather than a total hands-off experience that the CEO previously had. So I think the trade-off was positive in that sense.
Got it. And, kudos to you. Not everyone, oversees this process, is able to sometimes envision the next state. You clearly decided to move from, let's say, a, email-based travel booking process to a self-serve platform.
Mhm.
Once you started this search for a self-serve travel platform, how did Itilite appear on your radar? And what made you ultimately decide that it was the right fit?
Yeah, I think at the time we were just, we were not very, we were exploring different options of travel booking, not simply from a self-serve, but other travel agents, other services, and everything. This was led by the ops coordinator at the time. I think that person narrowed it down to Italite and a couple of other areas or different other options. I think the main key decision with Italite was after the demos, kind of flexible per booking pricing with no lock-in commitments is very beneficial, very easy to understand. It allows us to be flexible as well because some seasons will travel more than others, and so having that was able to kind of predict and forecast our costs better as well. And then for the kind of employee experience, I'm always moving into the operations side. I shifted from thinking about our clients' website users and their experience to the employee experience, and thinking about how are they going to operate through this. And yeah, it was a very similar or familiar booking process because everybody's used to booking their own flights and all that, and so it's just basically a natural extension of how people are booking travel these days, kind of the self-service adoption from the team. So kind of that was the key reasons why Italite worked for us.
Got it. And now that your users have been using Itilite for a while, what are some of the features that are most loved by your users?
Yeah, I think the kind of having, at least from the operational side, having the budget approvals and conditions was important to have that level of control and visibility, again, to manage costs as well as to just have an oversight in terms of what's going on. I think the group trip setup was really useful as well. That one person can lead the primary booking of everything and everybody else can just add on their itineraries. So that's going to be that was very useful for kind of when a group of people travel for a conference, for instance. I think having it be billed directly to the company and not having to have people buy it on their own and expense it personally was valuable, just because we can't expect everybody to be able to to shell out their own personal finances, and we don't want to have people to be put that reliance on them. That's quite important as well. And then just from a finance standpoint, the back end of downloading invoices for month-end accounting and kind of looking through all the different transactions and invoices in one source is easier than having to rely on people to email their receipts and invoices and chasing everybody down. So I think those are some of the key points that come to mind for that.
Got it. So it's interesting to, your journey started more to improve, your traveler experience. And I'm glad to hear that you were also able to improve your administrator experience. The benefits on the finance side, I hope, have made life easier for the finance and accounting teams too.
Yeah, they have like finance level access where they're able to access just what they need and not having to get access to everything else. So having those different levels of permissions is also quite useful for that side of things.
Very, very helpful, and thank you for the insights. I know we've had quite a conversation. If you were to advise someone in your shoes, another company who's looking to evaluate a travel booking platform, what would your advice to them be?
Yeah, I think if I go back to my roots about looking at the user, is think about the user experience. Who is your audience that are traveling? Is it just this busy CEO who wants everything handled and not thought about it? Or are there kind of people who want to have more flexibility and combine their own personal travel with the organization, or they have more specific needs of their travel, whether it's travel time or the type of hotel they want to book? And so, yeah, make sure you're able to tailor the solution to your travelers' needs within the organization. And then, yeah, think about the scaling side of things, whether it's on the back end of how you collect invoices and receipts for accounting purposes, how you manage permissions and budgets and everything. So I think it's both the client-facing side as well as the internal operation side of things that to really consider around that. But not it's not one size fits all. But you got to figure out what's best for your particular travel needs, travel types, and travelers.
I think that's great advice. And I think in my own personal journey building Itilite out, this is what we've tried to do. Understand who are the different users that we cater to, what what helps them being productive and what helps or what kills productivity for them.
Mhm.
Ultimately, if you take a user forward approach, then the decision is probably going to be the best one. And that's
Absolutely.
exactly what you heard from Nick as well. Nick, it has been a fantastic conversation. I've truly enjoyed your perspectives. And thank you for making time and sharing these with our listeners.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.